I want to share with you my most craziest, life changing spiritual event that happened to me. It was a service that was done. Let me start with saying viewer discretion is advised because it's crazy. Secondly, I also want to state that at this time when I got this service, I didn't really believe in anything like higher up or spiritual, like angels or demons or past lives or any of that type of stuff, right? I was just kind of basic. Oh, my tea is done. 1 second. I'm back. I guess this is a bedtime story because I'm making sleepy time tea. I'll let that simmer or steep or whatever. Okay, so I own a business at this time, and this was like in 2023. And, no, 2021, sorry. Um, I owned a business, metaphysical. I did tarot readings and I made things like candles and soaps and body stuff, things like that. I sold crystals, stuff like that. And I was traveling to different events as a tarot reader and setting up like a table as a vendor. And one of the other vendors, it was like a women's event, and one of the other vendors was from like a few hours away, and she was doing a service called past life readings and like soul fragments, and I had never heard of anything like that, but it was like $20 and I was like, okay, let's do it. Wow. Wow. Okay, here's where the viewer discretion is coming in. So we sit down, and she's super nice, like so kind, and I have no clue what is about to happen. Like I'm like, what the fuck is this? And so I don't say anything to her. I'm sitting there with her, and she starts like looking up, and she's like touching her neck, and like I'm like, this bitch is crazy. What is she doing? She starts saying these things like, I'm connecting to Archangel Michael, and I'm like, who the fuck is Archangel Michael? And I'm like, okay, great. And she starts talking about what she's seeing, right? And it's like a vision. And she's seeing me as a little girl. And I was kidnapped off my bike, is what she said. Like I was probably like 7 or 8 years old, and I was kidnapped off of like a dirt road, and there was like a forest and by a van, and they left my bike on the side of the road, and then they took me and locked me up in like a basement area where there was like other children also. I wasn't the only one. And like there was a mattress on the floor, and they were basically like using us in as like to for pedophiles, okay? People were paying to use us, the children in this basement area. She said that the kids couldn't like speak to each other, but they were like there was like some kind of room in between them. Like there was multiple though in this basement, and there was like video camera set up, and we were chained to like the wall somehow. And she asked me, she says, do you have problems with things around your wrist or around your neck? And I said, actually, yeah, I hate things. I can't even wear clothes that are tight around like around my neck, see? Because it bothers me. It makes me feel like I'm dying. And I don't wear watches, I don't wear bracelets, I don't wear any jewelry. I absolutely hate things that are around these areas. I always have my whole entire life. Even when I had long hair, I wouldn't wear like a hairband around my wrist because it bothered me so much. And I was like, okay, you got me there. Interesting, okay. And then she tells me that when I hit the age of 12, they sold me like to someone else, and those other people ended up across my neck and rolling me up in a carpet, and that's probably why I don't like things around my neck. And rolling me in a carpet and taking me to a dump and just like dumping my body off. And that was my life. And she was like crying as she's telling me this. She was like super crying. And I'm just like, what? What the fuck? And then I'm like, I started feeling really weird. Like inside of me, it started spinning. Like inside of me though. And it wasn't like dizzy, it was like spinning. Like this inside of my body all the way through. And she said, I'm going to retrieve the soul fragment and we're going to put it back into you. And she said, I'm using Archangel Michael and he is your guide and your protector and you can call on him at any time. And he is going to first heal the wound of your throat. And I have always had like throat chakra problems about speaking my truth and things like that. And then, so she did that and we ended the session and I was like, okay. And I get to stand up and I could barely even stand up. Like my legs were so weak and wobbly that I was just like, it was like rubber. I was like, oh shit, something is happening. I go back, I sit at my table, I get a bunch of water. I'm suddenly like thirsty as can be. Like I could drink a gallon of water. It's then time for me to go home and I have to come back the next day as a vendor. And so it's like a 20-minute drive, right, to my house from this place. I get in the car, I can barely have the strength to like hold my hands on the steering wheel, you know? And I was so exhausted. I had to pull over on the side of the road off of a 20-minute drive and just let my body rest because I could not handle it. I woke up the next day and my entire perception about life had suddenly changed. I realized that what I was working on was incorrect and I had to work with children. And I changed my entire business and everything overnight. And it was crazy and strange. So the next week, I go and I apply to be a substitute teacher at my daughter's elementary school. And they accept me and I get everything done and it actually only takes them 3 days to do fingerprint, background check and everything because they needed subs so bad. And then they asked me just randomly, they were like, well, we need someone to work in pre-K for a long-term substitute. You'll be the head teacher for the next like 5 months. And I'm like, okay, how hard is pre-K, right? I never... I was a healthcare compliance officer before this. I go in the first day after I already agreed to do this job. And there are 16 4 and 5-year-olds running around. I have never worked with little kids before. And it was intense. This changed my entire existence as a human being on this planet. Those little kids revived my dead cold heart from the glaciers of wherever, because I had been very traumatized and abused as a child and neglected, and I never understood love. I didn't even know what it really meant, to be honest. And those little kids loved me like back to life. They showed me what it was like to work with my inner child, to allow my inner child to come out, to heal all these different things, because they're so accepting. They don't care. They're just very honest and present and loving life, exploring. And it took me back to that. And I worked with those kids for almost a year and a half as a long-term substitute within the school permanently in the elementary. And it was literally the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And it taught me more than I would have ever found out with adults. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? And now I work with adults' inner child. I work and I bring out the inner child in other adults. Isn't that crazy?